Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, thumma amma ba'd. I didn't share a title because this was not going to be a lecture, it was going to be a rant, inshallah. And it was going to be a rant about a frustration I've been feeling for a long time that I want to share with you, and hopefully I want you to feel it with me, if you don't already. Okay? Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, I've gotten a chance to get intimately close to a good number of communities all over the country. And I've noticed a serious contradiction. You have a town like Houston, and you have Muslims spending more than almost 3 weeks studying Islam day and night in one part of it. And not too far from here, maybe within a 1 mile radius, you have Muslims doing things I can't say here. And it's the majority. You have masajid where people are coming for Jummah prayer, and they have some serious problems. Like, when I say serious problems, I'm not just talking about theological issues, which are serious. I'm not just talking about issues of ignorance in terms of knowledge, that's serious too. I'm talking about serious psychological problems, serious family problems, drug, alcohol, you name it. They're coming to Friday prayer. And the one place that's supposed to give them their solutions, guess what? It's not. We're going across the country, and subhanAllah, it's a gift of Allah that masajid have now become a part of the American landscape. Masajid are incredibly, we've got large multi-million-dollar properties. I mean, we're huge. And subhanAllah, how we've been able to raise those funds. Because usually, the masjids in the world landscape, they are government-funded projects, or they're public projects. These are privately funded institutions that are being built all over this country. And yet, these same masjids are not equipped, not nearly equipped, for the most part, to deal with some of the most basic problems of the Muslim community. I'm going to share this problem with you at 3 levels. First, I'll just talk about the youth. Just the youth. I would argue, theoretically, that there are 3 kinds of youth, Muslim youth. There are 3 kinds of Muslim youth. There's the you kind of youth. You know what that means? They're somehow identified as religious. They're attending religious programs and they're learning in whatever capacity. They're attending some sort of a halaqah. They have some sort of a relationship with an imam or two, right? They're watching videos on YouTube, downloading MP3s off the internet, reading articles, books, this and that. Blogging on religious websites, asking fatwa questions, that sort of thing. Religious youth. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the messed up youth. Who are these guys? These guys are Muslim too, but you wouldn't know. You would not know. And the things that you say astaghfirullah to, the things that you pass by and you say la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that's nothing for them. That's just the beginning. They are up to some really bad stuff. Really bad. And it's so bad that if I sit, and we've actually done this in Virginia when I was there, you sit down with a couple of imams and you explain to them what the youth are doing. You take a couple of messed up youth that you can talk to, you bring them over and you say, why don't you, Mr. Messed Up Youth, tell Mr. Imam here what you guys are up to? And the imam refuses to believe it. No, come on, that's impossible. Does that even exist? Yep, that exists. It's a scary reality. That is the messed up youth. And then there's the middle youth. You know who they are? They used to be party animals. Then they somehow accidentally stumbled upon an MSA. Or accidentally clicked on a YouTube video. Or one of their friends became religious or something. And so they're kind of, sort of inclined. Maybe they'll put hijab on sometimes. Maybe they'll let it grow for a couple of days. Right? But then they sometimes drift back, then they get pulled here. They're sort of in the middle. They're good kids. They're not as bad as the messed up youth, but they're in the middle. So you got 3 kinds of youth. You know what my theory is? My theory is most of us were messed up. Illa masha'Allah. Most of us were messed up. And then slowly we started transitioning. And eventually we became what you could call religious youth. A lot of us, okay? We became I'm not saying you're good people. I'm just giving a social term, okay? I don't know the state of your iman and you don't know the state of mine. But we became religious. And when youth become religious, you know what happens? The way they speak changes. The things they like and they dislike changes. The friends they keep company with naturally changes. Because how do you make friends? You make friends based on common social activities, right? So obviously you're not hitting up the movie theater, you're not going to the club anymore, you're not hanging out with your non-Muslim friends who curse, all the time. So obviously you found new friends at the masjid. You found friends among students of knowledge, etc., etc. So your culture changed. Your culture went through a paradigm shift. And this change, you know who started noticing this change in you? Your family. We'll talk about that a little later. When a lot of you went through this change, your family started noticing that you're going through a change. For a lot of you, this is a reality. But then for others, you got cut off from your friends. You slowly got drifted away completely from your friends. Now tell me, if I was to put percentages on this, what percent of the youth do you think are religious? Just throw a number out there. You're very generous. I'd give a fraction of a percent. I'd give a fraction of a percent to religious youth. I'd say about 10, 20% at the most would be the kind of sort of convention youth, right? Those youth. And then I would say probably the vast majority of Muslim kids, Muslim youth, are messed up. They're entirely messed up. And they have little to no exposure to Islam. But you know the gift of Allah to us? The gift of Allah to us is even the messed up youth, a good number of them show up to Jummah prayer. Even they show up to Jummah prayer. Now, this event has a tuition. You have to make a sacrifice to come here. You have to take a flight. You have to book a hotel. You have to make arrangements to be here. If there's a program at the masjid, flyers have to be passed out. Facebook events have to be made. Emails have to be sent out. People have to make phone calls, encourage each other to show up. How many flyers are sent out for Jummah prayer? Any Facebook event for Jummah prayer? Coming this Friday. Nothing. Nobody else. Who's the khatib? I don't know if I'm coming this week. I don't know who the khatib is. The khatib could be the kind of khatib that makes you want to bang your head on a wall. You'll still go. Allah created this institution for which it's a national convention of the Muslims every week. Allah designed it so that Muslims can stay in touch with their religion, no matter how messed up they get. There's still something there. So now I want you to appreciate what a strategic role, what a critical role the khutbah plays in the life of a community. I'm giving you reality. I'm giving you just realistic, personal experience stories. Kid shoots up some drugs in the parking lot of the masjid in his car, sniffs it up, then comes to Jummah prayer. He comes there. And he's listening to a khutbah about some technicalities that were discussed in the 8th century or the 12th century. Or he hears names of 18 scholars that this young guy who's a student of knowledge, he learned all this knowledge, so he's got to regurgitate it somewhere. So guess where he finds the opportunity to regurgitate his knowledge? At the minbar. He's going to let people know how much he learned. Right? Does anybody in the audience care? Nope. And then you know what else the youth does? The youth brings up, and some of you are not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because it hurts my feelings. Only because of that. And I'm seriously concerned. There's the religious youth are of different ideologies. The religious youth belong to different ideologies. And because we're youth, and before we were youth, it was this gang versus that gang, Lakers versus Knicks or whatever back in the day, Bulls versus whatever, Spurs. But after Islam, after you became religious, guess what it became? This school versus that school. This theological understanding versus that theological understanding. This many tarawih versus that many tarawih. This masjid versus that masjid, this imam versus that imam, etc., etc. This speaker versus that speaker. Don't listen to that guy, he'll send you to hell. Don't listen to that guy, he'll send you to hell. Oh man, you listen to that guy? Oh, you're going to hell too? Okay, then I don't want to talk to you anymore. We created this. Not based on knowledge, most of it. Most of it is based on just immature rhetoric. Immature garbage. So we brought this where? The tragedy is we brought this immature nonsense to the minbar. We brought it to the minbar. So, in essence, I went to business school, so I'm thinking of it from a marketing business point of view, okay? Here we are, a fraction of a percent, debating and fighting each other over territory over how much of the Muslims? That fraction of that 1%, while the rest of them can forget, who cares? Who cares about them? I don't even care. We have forgotten that they even exist. Our debates, our blogs, our discourse